These videos are brought to you by Card Conduit, the best place to sell your unused collection fast and easily. 401 Games, Canada's top shop for all your hobby and TCG needs. Dragon Shield, the strongest sleeves for your strongest decks. And Moxfield, the easiest way to store and share your deck lists. Mark wins the die roll and starts us off. He draws and plays a command tower. Art's got a swamp, casting Vicious Conquistador. Fred plays a forest and casts Llanowar Elves. I draw, play a Homeward Path, and pass. Mark's got a plains and casts Jukai Naturalist. Art's got a forest and is enough for Belbe. He then goes to combat and swings the Vicious Conquistador at me, dealing 1 to the table, and then connecting and dealing an extra 1. In his post-combat main phase, Arja makes 6 colorless mana thanks to Belbe's ability, and uses it to cast Ugin the Ineffable. He then upticks the Walker to make a spirit token, and passes. Fred's got a forest, and casts Priest of Titania. I play Mobilized District, and cast Manifold Key. I follow up with Drillworks Mole, and pass. Mark's got a mountain, and casts Felwar Stone, and then passes once it resolves. Arja has a swamp for turn, and once more goes to combat. He swings his Enabler with the Vicious Conquistador at Fred, and a Spirit Token goes at Mark. We each take 1 from the Conquistador, and Mark and Fred then take the hit. After combat, Arja gets 6 colorless mana, casting Dreamstone Hedron with it. He then sacrifices it to draw 3 cards. We then see a Night Market Lookout. He follows up by upticking Ugin, and then plays out a Concordant Crossroads and passes. Fred's got a forest for turn, and he brings out his commander with Eladamri. He then plays a Growing Rites of Itlimoc, and reveals his top cards, keeping an Elvish Champion, and then casts a Wirewood Symbiote. He passes, flipping the Growing Rites of Itlimoc. I draw, play Abstergo Entertainment, and then cast a Glaring Fleshraker. Mark's got a Branchloft Pathway, and casts Danitha. Going to combat, he swings Danitha at Ugin, and Arja chumps with a Spirit Token. After that, Mark passes, and Fred uses Beast Within on his end step to take out Ugin since Mark couldn't. Arja draws and plays a forest. He swings the Beast Token at Mark and the Lookout at Fred. We all take another 1 from the Lookout trigger, and Mark takes 3 more from the Beast, while Fred blocks with Eladamri. After combat, Arja gets his 6 colorless mana from Belbe, and uses it to help cast Terastodon. It comes in, destroying Itlimoc, Manifold Key, and Felwar Stone. He follows up with a Dross Claw, and passes. Fred's got a forest for turn, and he casts Marwyn. He then plays this Elvish Champion that we saw earlier, and he goes to combat. He swings his elves at Arja, and they all have Forest Walk, so he can't block, taking 10. With nothing else, Fred passes. I draw and cast a Worn Power Stone, making a spawn off the Fleshraker, and then dealing 1 to everyone as it comes in. The Worn Power Stone then resolves. I then get 4 mana off of Belbe in my second main phase, and use it to help cast a Cryptic Trilobite, putting 2 into the X. This makes me another spawn from the Fleshraker, and as it enters, deals another 1 to my opponents. Mark's just got a mountain, and he casts Mazzy, and passes. Arja's turn has him playing a swamp, and he goes to combat, swinging the Dross Claw at me, and deals 1 to the table. I then block with a Trilobite to kill the Germ. Arja's second main phase still has him making 6 colorless mana though, and he uses it to help cast Ingarok's Wake. Fred responds by activating the Wirewood Symbiote's ability, bouncing Eladamri to his hand, and the rest of the board gets wiped. Arja then moves the Dross Claw onto a Spirit Token, and passes to Fred. Fred draws and plays Song of the Dryads, enchanting Belbe with it, and passes after that. My turn has a Tap Myriad Landscape coming in, and I cast Honor Worn Shaku. I follow it up with Marvin, and pass. Mark plays a mountain, and then casts Mazzy again. She resolves, and he passes. Arja's turn has a forest coming in, and he goes to combat. He swings the Drossclaw Spirit and the Conquistador at Fred, and the Terastodon goes at Mark, with the Beast Token going at me. None of us are able to block, and we all take 2 on attack, and then the combat damage from the creatures. With nothing else, Arja passes. Fred plays a forest for turn, and just passes after that. I've got a Foundry Inspector, and I cast a Trading Post. I then move to combat, and punch Arja for 5, and pass after that. Mark draws and plays a Myriad Landscape which comes in tapped and passes. During his end step, Arja casts a Return of the Wild Speaker to try and draw some cards. I respond by sacrificing the Shaku to Trading Post, drawing a card, but not finding an answer, and Arja draws 9 before moving to his turn. Arja plays a Swamp for turn, and he pays 1 for a Soul Ring. He then plays out a Brainstealer Dragon and goes to combat. He swings the dragon at Mark since it has haste from Concordant Crossroads, and the elephants go at me. Mark and I then take our hits. After combat, Arja plays a Sword of Feast and Famine, which resolves, and moving to his end step, he exiles everyone's top card with the Brainstealer Dragon, and passes. Fred's got a Beast Whisperer for turn, but unfortunately that's about it, and he has to pass after that. I draw, play a Buried Ruin, and cast a Pristine Talisman. I tap it for a mana, and gain a life, and then use that mana to sacrifice a Trading Post to draw a card. Unfortunately, it's a Gilded Lotus, which I then cast and pass. Mark's got a Forest, and he casts Minmus Containment and puts it onto the Brainstealer Dragon. He then sacrifices the Myriad Landscape, going to find 2 basics of the same type, and passes. Arja's turn has a Swamp, and he casts a Steel Hellkite. He moves the sword onto it and goes to combat, swinging the Hellkite at Fred and the elephants at Mark. Mark blocks the Terrastodon with Mazzy, and casts Boros Charm to make her indestructible, but still takes the 3 from the unblocked token, while Fred takes a total of 7 in the air. Fred then discards a card, and Arja untaps his lands. While still in combat, Arja activates the Hellkite, paying 3 to destroy the Song of Dryads, and Belbe comes back. We then move to his second main phase, and Arja makes 6 more colorless mana from Belbe's ability, and uses it to help play and then sacrifice a Burnished Heart. He goes to find some basics, and once that's done, plays the Eldest Reborn. As it comes in, all of Arja's opponents sacrifice a creature, and he then passes turn. Fred draws and continues to play only 1 elf a turn, casting Oracle of Moldiah. He passes after that. My turn has me drawing and making 2 by tapping the Worn Power Stone, and then once more sacrificing the Mana Rock to Trading Post to draw a card. I then play Gaia Reach Sanitarium, and activate it to make us all draw a card and discard a card. Once that's done, I cast Lightning Greaves, which I then equip onto Marvin, and pass turn. Mark draws, plays a mountain, and casts Oratog. He passes after that. Arja upticks the Eldest Reborn in his main phase, which has each opponent discarding a card. He then casts Horizon Stone, and it goes to combat once it's out. He swings everything at Mark. Arja activates the Hellkite 3 times to bring it to a total of 10 damage, and Mark gets taken out. Arja also gets to untap his lands, but with nothing else to do, moves to his end step. With the Minmus Containment gone, the Brainstealer Dragon triggers, and steals Fred and I's top card. Fred draws and replays Eladamri, and then swings both of his creatures at Arja. He can't block because of Forest Walk, taking 4, and Fred then passes turn. I have a Zalafrin Void as my land for turn, scrying 1 as it comes in. I then float 3 mana off the Gilded Lotus, and once more sacrifice the Mana Rock to Trading Post and draw a card. I then use the 2 remaining mana floating to activate Gaia Reach Sanitarium, having us all draw a card and discard a card. After that, I then pass, and during my end step, Arja floats 13 mana and keeps it because of his Horizon Stone is colorless. Arja draws, and in his main phase, finishes the Eldest Reborn, returning Night Market Lookout, because he doesn't want to give an opponent back a creature thanks to my Homeward Path being on the board. He then casts a Loyal Subordinate, and follows it up with a From Beyond. He then sacrifices it, and goes to find It That Betrays, which he then casts. Going to combat, Arja swings out, with each of us taking 6 from the Loyal Subordinate and draining Dorks to start. After doing the math, neither Fred nor I have enough blockers to live, and Arja wins the game through combat. This video is brought to you in part by my sponsors. Card Conduit is the easiest way to sell your unused Magic cards. Whether your collection is sorted or not, there's an option for everyone. With a payout averaging 19% higher than just using one buy list, you can rest assured you get the best bang for your buck, and you can get further savings of 10% on your service fees by using my affiliate link down below or the promo code MTGMudsta. 401 Games is Canada's one-stop shop for trading cards, board games, and hobby supplies. With a huge selection of cards and sealed product, first-time buyers can save 5% off their first order by using the code MTGMudsta, and returning shoppers can also use the code GOBLINS5 to save 5% on orders of singles. And Dragon Shield, the strongest sleeves for your strongest decks. You can use the promo code MUDSTA or the affiliate link down below to save 5% on your next order. So yeah, game review time. This game was about an hour long and was pretty spicy. Belbe was absolutely merciless and Arja piloted the deck really well. That Ingrux Wake really turned the tide for him, I think basically gave him the game. Fred's Eladamri deck was a bit of a miscommunication, as I told him to build it, but I clearly forgot to specify that I wanted the Modern Horizons 3 version. That being said, it did exactly what an elf deck does, which is flood the board, and then unfortunately fold hard when it comes to a board wipe. Mark's Mazzy deck struggled, and I think the most impactful thing he did the entire game was the mid-miss containment on the Brainstealer Dragon. Similarly, Marvin did absolutely nothing except for draw mana rocks and then sacrifice them to trading posts to draw cards, and it probably would have made no difference if I was even there. This video wouldn't be possible without the help from my sponsors, but it definitely wouldn't be possible without the help from you, the viewers, and my patrons. So I just want to say thank you for watching, and to remember, friends are just opponents you haven't eliminated yet.